Just finished our first week of residency. What up, though? This has been insane. I'm not gonna lie. And when I say first week of residency, it's not even really done. It's Friday right now. I've went through 11 to 13 hour shifts, Monday through Friday. I have one day off tomorrow, which is Saturday. And then I go back on Sunday for another 11-hour shift. The shifts are supposed to be 11 hours, 6:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. I'm currently in the inpatient pediatric unit. I'm seeing a lot of sick children, a lot of sick infants, and I am making decisions. I'm telling nurses what to do. What is life? Yeah, I never honestly thought I'd make it this far. I'm gonna be honest. My first day in, gosh dang. Like, it was just like a nut up or shut up kind of thing. You walk in, of course I get there like at 6:15, because I like to get there early. I like to show up early, show them what's up, make a good first impression. But then of course nobody was in the room and I didn't know what I was doing. So I just sat around for another 10 minutes. The first, doctor walks in. It turns out to be another resident, but I'm like, what I mean? When they walk in, I'm just like, yo, it's my first day. I don't know what to do. Turns out she's a second year pediatrician or second year pediatrics resident who's also going to be working alongside me. And then another guy came in, a second year family medicine resident. And then a medical student then walked in. And I'm like, okay, so this ain't bad. At least I got something on the medical student. And it turns out the medical student might be a little smarter than I am. But anyways, yeah, I ended up having issues like logging on to the computer. Of course, why wouldn't that happen? And yeah, I just felt like a fraud, honestly, in there. And I was super scared, but I had to, show face that, or show confidence. And I just started making calls to IT to log into this computer. And then I got assigned some patients. Praise the Lord. Those residents were nice to me and they gave me a few less patients than, you probably would get as a, as a more experienced resident physician. So I started with 3 patients seeing that day, and then maybe got an admission, which for those of you guys that don't know what that is, basically if someone's in the emergency room and they have to stay in the hospital for longer because they have something that's more chronic and takes a while to fix, they will be admitted to the hospital. So they'll stay at the hospital for a couple days, and as soon as they get wheeled up to their hospital room, we have to, as the pediatric hospital team, of course, if they have to be a child for us to see them, I go in there and we say what's up, or whoever goes in there says what's up. Whoever's in charge of that patient goes in there, says what's up, and has to do a whole history, physical, talk to the patient a lot, and think of, the plan for their stay there. So yeah, and then placing orders. Holy geez, out of nowhere, I got to place my first orders. And it's I don't know what my first order was. It might have been a discharge set of orders. So when someone's leaving the hospital, I have to make all these orders for what they're going to take home with them, from what they're not going to take home with them in terms of medications. And so I placed 5 for my very first. And of course I had help, but they're also kind of just throwing you into this. So it's I'm kind of just scrolling. I'm just scrolling through the system, and I'm just clicking, oh yeah, this medication would be good to continue. This medication wouldn't. This medication would. And I'm like, dude, guys, does this look good before I click sign and they actually go home with these dang medications? I'm actually in charge of this patient's care. I'm gonna, what I do when I click this button, sign, submit, it's gonna go through, and that's what this patient's gonna get to take home as a medication. And yeah, it's just kind of scary, honestly. Even if it's just an order for Tylenol, which is over the counter, you can buy it in stores. When I'm ready to click that button, sign, I'm like, should I click it, or should I sit on this and wait for a second? Give it some time to really sink in. What's the worst that can happen if I accidentally press sign and they're not supposed to get Tylenol? Of course, what would probably happen is they would have some type of liver damage and they're not supposed to take any Tylenol. That's probably what would happen, but luckily that did not happen. I have some good help from the upper years, from the other residents that are super duper nice. So far, all the attending physicians have been very nice. The physicians in charge of me that are not residents, they're the more experienced people. Yeah, luckily everybody's been very nice, and this is crazy. I have never had a 12 plus hour shift. I've never worked 11 plus hours even, I don't think. when I was a medical student. So to be given the task of now seeing patients by yourself, and placing orders and telling nurses what to do, because they'll be asking you questions about patients. This ain't working for this patient. This patient can't take this medication for whatever reason. They're just not able to take it down because they're vomiting or something. Like, what should I do? Dude, I don't know what to do. I'm just kind of like thinking off the top of my dome, never had to really think about this stuff before. All right. But you think of something, and then if you don't know, you just say, hey, I'll get back to you and I'll let you know. And then you have to figure it out. Whether that's Googling it or whether that's using the doctor Google, which is called Up to Date. It's basically like a Google search for doctors. Whether it's doing whatever to figure it out, asking the resident beside you with a little more experience, whatever it may be, you got to figure that out, and then you tell the nurse what to do, and hopefully you didn't make the wrong choice. Which, I mean, most of the time it's like not life or death. So even if you did make the wrong choice, it's not gonna be. I'm probably jinxing myself right now. I'm gonna stop talking about that. Stop talking about making bad decisions. Anyways. I'm thrown in. I've never done like I said, I've never done like a 12+ hour shift or even an 11+ hour shift in all of my medical school career. And now all of a sudden I'm doing 11. So like I said, 6:30 to 5:30, I'm supposed to be doing 11-hour shifts 6 days a week, which is insane already. That's 66 hours. But then of course, since I'm not very experienced yet, or because we have like something going on right near the end of my shift, right when I'm about to get out, such as an admission from the ER, I ended up having to stay like an extra 2 hours maybe. So I've been working like up to 13-hour shifts so far. Got out luckily today on time. Because I'm actually starting to get my stuff down. But yeah, and also a lot of it just comes down to luck. Hopefully you don't have a lot of stuff going on around the end of your shift. But yeah, what the heck is going on? Like, I've never experienced this much stress probably in my life in a fat minute. But hey, you learn when you're uncomfortable. If there's something you should take out of this video, it is you learn when you are uncomfortable. Also, do I look tired? We like to look tired out here. If you're watching this video and you're not tired from grinding, all right, you should be. You should be, all right? Because I'm doing it and I'm the biggest kid in the world. I haven't studied medicine in like 6 months, and I just got thrown in there. And how put yourselves in my shoes, all right? I ain't like trying to talk big talk here, but put yourselves in my shoes. Who hasn't studied medicine in 6 months? I'm ready, like not the greatest student when it came to medical school. Like, I was an average student. You know what I mean? And then just get tossed in here for 66-hour plus weeks and being in charge of patients for real. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of you guys also went through this as well if you're a doctor. So I should stop, trying to pity myself, stop feeling bad for myself, and just push on through. But on a second thought, I'm going to go off on a little tangent here. This also kind of like, I kind of understand now why doctors get burned out, and also why this is bad. Don't do this. Why physicians have a high suicide rate. Because if you think about it, if you're working 66, and I'm in an easy-ish rotation, honestly, for medicine. If that's what I'm trying to say here is 66 hours a week I feel like it's pretty common in medicine. I'm on pediatrics in a hospital. It's not even necessarily known to be one of the harder things when it comes to being a doctor. You can be a general surgeon, for example. You can be in, I don't know what other type of doctor works a lot. Just any type of surgeon, honestly. Any doctor that does surgeries, you can be on some long hours, like 80+ hours a week, even though you're not supposed to be, based on like this new law that came out for residents. But I'm pretty sure I hear some residencies get around that, and they be working their doctors like 90, 100 hours. But yeah, like, I see why you get burnt out, and I see why mental health starts taking a toll. If there was one thing that has been getting me through this week, is I've been making sure I get my sleep, get a little bit of exercise in, and I'd be eating somewhat healthy. I don't really have time, honestly, to like cook. I suck at meal prepping. Definitely could work on that. But if there's one thing that's getting me through is the sleep, and it's like trying to eat healthy. I've been eating salads here and there, stuff that's still kind of prepared, not the healthiest, but still somewhat healthy. Yeah, that's the one thing that's getting me through. The sleep though. Sleep. I didn't drink a single sip of caffeine, by the way, this entire week. Just slept more. And by more, I mean like it's only been like 7.5 to 8.5 hours I'd be sleeping. That's because I literally. So I get home from work, I go to the gym, I come back, I eat, and I shower, brush my teeth, everything, and I just go right to bed. That's been my day for the past 5 days. Work, gym, sleep, eat. Work, gym, eat, sleep. And this, like I said, this isn't even like technically one of the harder doctor specialties / rotations out there. It's inpatient pediatrics, right? So, yeah, like I said, I see why doctors be out here wanting to commit suicide with mental health issues because of how much they're getting worked. And say, for example, you know what's crazy? If you were to work this many freaking hours, and then like say your wife divorces you of like 10 years and like leaves you in debt or something like that. You didn't sign a prenup. And like maybe you guys have kids together. Like it's just a huge mess outside of your work, and then inside your work, say like stuff's just going down, the days are long and it's like super duper busy, like, and then you're on low amounts of sleep. That is a recipe for disaster. With all that being said though, I'm very, very grateful to be in this position. One thing you guys got to think about if you're like working your butt off, whatever it may be, whether it's like medicine or just whatever else you're grinding for, whether you're trying to be like a lawyer, whether you're trying to, I'm saying all these like top job careers, but really anything in life, whatever you're going for, dance, singing, being a musician, making YouTube videos, whatever it may be you're going for in life. I wish you the best in it. The thing you got to be grateful for is that you're at least like you're able to make a living, like you're able to make a living while doing it. Yeah, maybe if you're going for like being a dancer or something like that, you're not necessarily making money from that. But if you're able to do this thing and you're able to still live like at least somewhat sustainably, you got to be grateful for that, because there's a lot of people out here that be working, whatever it may be in the fields for like 12 plus hours a day in the hot sun, like 100 plus degree weather. And then they're barely making it. That is the biggest pain. So sometimes I remember when I was back in high school and I picked cherries for like 2 days because I was like, dude, these people are out here just like picking cherries and then they get paid for that. And I was like, yo, that ain't half bad, as a high school kid. So I went out there for like, I think it was 1 day. I think I quit after 1 day. I was out there for like 10 hours picking cherries in the hot freaking sun. And I made like $20 because I was that slow at picking cherries, because they pay you based not on a salary, but on how many cherries you pick. And I picked that slow down and made $20 for like 10 hours. I was literally making like $2 to $3 an hour. And I was like, yo, this is crazy that people actually do this for a living. That's why I'm so grateful to be in a position where I'm just like able to use my mind and just like use my intelligence, use what I've been studying for the past however many years, 9 years, 8 if you include undergrad, 9, something like that. But yeah, I'm so lucky to be able to just use this instead of use, my body physically to perform manual labor for very low amounts of money, like just enough to get by. So that's what I always think about. Yeah, it's just like things could always be worse. The grass is always greener. You think your career sucks, but there's always something worse out there, and you got to be grateful that you're not, that you're not in a worse position and that you're getting by. So, and especially if it's something that you feel like you love doing or that you would love doing, like even though I'm putting in 66 hours a week at least here, I'm getting paid to learn. That's pretty crazy, right? Yeah, technically the hospital's kind of using me to see patients and I'm still making them money, probably more money than they're paying me. I'm still technically getting paid to learn here. And I still have like an attending above me. So it's like, if I make a mistake, it's not just all on me, right? It's not like I'm probably not going to get sued unless I do something drastic. So, there's comfort there as well. Yeah, I'm out here just getting paid to work. And if you're getting paid to work, or I'm sure there's pros to your career, whatever it may be. You just got to look for them, or just open your mind to them. Don't just think your career sucks, because I feel like that's what I feel like that's what I always that's what I always kind of tell myself, like, man, this career sucks. Like working 66-hour weeks, like being so mentally drained by the end of the day, but so many benefits, so many perks of being in this career that I am in. So yeah, I think now I've ranted long enough. I will see y'all in the next video. Goodbye.